What is do you think is the theoretical maximum number of players you can support in a single system? Either participating in the war or maybe just flying about even?
Well, we've already proven that we can do hundreds and hundreds of them. Now, we're going to push that number as high as we can go. But we were already very comfortable with the numbers like you see here was kind of scratching the surface of that. And that was 700 AI in that demo sector. I think I said that before. But couple that with hundreds and hundreds of players, and you've really got this epic. And that's always the goal for us. And that's what we're building right now. So when you think about Jumpgate, it's about big fights. It's not about the small.
It's obviously going to be a key part of Friends and Family, and the beta is getting.
So we will determine that number, but it's more than adequate right now. I mean, we're in the hundreds.
There'll be enough people to shoot.
Yeah.
If, say, you determine that the number is 1,000, if something is going on in that sector and more players attempt to come in, have you discussed or decided upon maybe a gating system in order to keep extra players from overloading that system?
It'd be cool if we had gates where we walk down
like jump gates.
Yeah, actually, I mean, jump gates are a key part of the game, and so we leverage every bit of that, those disconnects to our advantage, so we can unlock areas at will.
I think one thing to say is that, in my experience, in terms of MMOs, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this. People often think that, like, hey, we're going to get 1,000 players together in this sector, right? Really, really, really that rarely happens. Rarely happens. And I mean that as in spontaneously, 1,000 people get together in the sector, right? But anyway, I mean, we're obviously going to build it to be as absolutely as big as possible, and as many people as possible.
Yeah, I can follow up with that. We also take advantage of the fact that you're not sitting on a plane. It's not terrain. You're not rendering all 500 or 1,000 guys right in front of you with spell effects going off so that your frame rate slows to a crawl. It's not that. It's everybody's distributed, everybody's spread, and the sector warfare system that we're talking about here has those differing objectives where we naturally drive people into different points of interest. So they spread naturally.
From a technical point of view, from a technical point of view, we've been spending a very, very large amount of time. Reese, you aren't kidding, that's right. From a technical point of view, we've been spending a lot of time recently making sure that we can actually, send as much data as we can with as little bandwidth as possible. So so one of the things that I
my favorite development story from these two.
One of the things that I did recently was we were having some concerns about network bandwidth, so I had someone snap 2 pictures of me, one going and one going, and we made what we called the bandwidth meter, and we put a bunch of instruments on the networking layer and throw a bunch of people into a sector, and essentially my face responds based upon how the bandwidth is performing. So when we first turned it on and we were mucking around with numbers, I was either very, very grumpy or I barked at you a lot. Swapping between the two very, very quickly, right? And so now we're at the point where I'm constantly happy. And so, but the reason we did that actually, from my point of view, is that we wanted everyone to be immediately aware, right? As you're working on systems, as you're developing new gameplay stuff, how is that affecting, right, the larger goal of network bandwidth, so that we can support a lot of things on these servers and get that information down to the client efficiently.
It's one of the reasons we couldn't take screenshots recently, because everyone was going to be like, what the hell is that guy on the left-hand side? Is that my avatar? That's sucky. That guy looks like an idiot. I don't want to have that guy as my avatar.
We had a big internal test, and there were some people like, what is that face doing in the game? Like, it's serving a good purpose, I promise.
The Lego team loved it.
Yeah, they loved it.
We have somebody repping the game.
You mentioned that it's an open world with no instances. I'm just curious as to whether it's going to be all one server like EVE Online, or sharded.
No,
like
it'll be sharded.
It'll be sharded. Okay.
And partly that's down to the usual things about latency and everything else, right? We need European servers for European players, American servers for American players, and yes, maybe even American West Coast or other places for the 5 Australians in the audience.
3 playable factions?
Yes.
How many factions in the game?
3.
What about the aliens? Talking about three.
We're talking about different enemies that you encounter, races, yeah.
There's more than three.
There's more than three.
And we're not releasing it officially, but imagine that there were some traditional races that may have existed before, which may also make an appearance in.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So when I say faction, I mean nation.
Nation. We get
Cross faction squad?
No.
Okay.
And you won't be able to make.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Yeah, go ahead.
Two characters on the same server from different nations. Did I say that right?
Interfaction communication, how's it? None?
No.
That's what the boards are for.
Yeah. Yeah. Reduced ventriloquy or heart's content.
Per shard in the tradition. We'll see where we end up.
Yeah.
The goal is, only to shard when we have to. So we want as few of them as humanly possible. We know we're going to have to.
What about previously? You guys had said there were I know everything's scrapped in terms of changes, but you had safe zones. So can you talk a little bit more about will you have safe zones? If so, can you talk about a little bit the extent of those? And also, the other question I had is a lot of games are going free to play. And I'm not asking you if you're going free to play. I'm saying, what do you think of that model? Do you think it makes sense for a space game? Because you're not going to answer it.
I'm not going to. It makes sense for some space games, I'll say that. But yeah, that's for safe zones. Let's get back to that for a second. So the PvE presentation throughout the game, there are areas where it is story-based and AI-based. And the opposing factions can't get there. So this is where we want to tell the story, and as we were kind of hammering home about the importance of that story, we're teaching you that why you hate these other guys. Now, having said that, you can branch over to PvP pretty early in the game. I think it's level 10 now. And our goal for that is also to be able to progress on that side. So on that side of the fence, that's open, that's wide open. If you go there, you can be killed. If you can see a player that is your enemy, you can kill them.
Yeah, there was a bit of misinformation because someone from the press didn't have his listening ears on yesterday. And he reported that you flagged for PvP, and that's not the case. You go to PvP places and you will fight, and there will be people out there. Now, there'll be PvE content out in those places. So you're not limited, right? It's not like I go out there and fly around, there's nothing to do. There'll be lots of PvE content. You saw the system that we have. We can create missions endlessly. Lots of stuff for you to do. Lots of things, aside from just shooting other people. And in fact, things that will help push the war effort forward.
Right, and we're drawing people out there with mission updates and event updates across the game that pull you into these sector warfare areas out in PvP space. And so you can go there, and it's just, there's more danger there because you might encounter enemy players.
So, in terms of my other question, you don't like FTP for a game like GG, or you do like it? I'm not saying you want to do it. I'm saying if you
Are you now, or have you ever been beating your wife?
Have you ever beat your wife?
Have you ever beaten your wife?
I mean, you got BP doing it. That's why I'm asking.
Sure.
You mean the guys who spilled the oil in the Gulf? Those guys. We are not commenting or talking about business model today.
In regards to multi-monitor support, a lot of games with PvP just don't give you a greater field of view. In Jumpgate, are you going to get a greater field of view? Absolutely.
Do we have stock in a monitor company or something?
We're going to give you the best experience we can possibly give you. We're not going to say, because you can see further, you have an advantage. Yeah, you have an advantage, right? So,